How's it going, everyone? My name is Nick Clement with Access 4 and welcome to MSPland. Today we have a special live recorded episode all about kickstarting your MSP marketing function. In this episode, where I'm joined by Lara Pascoe, Director of MSP Marketing Agency TechTent, we demystify the complexities that often hinder MSPs from effectively building a marketing function, as well as offer practical insights to navigate common marketing pitfalls. We further uncover strategies to leverage your customer white space, craft compelling cross-sell offerings, harness the power of your most loyal customers, and strategically map out your ideal customer profile. Let's jump into it. Hello, welcome everybody to our webinar today on how to kickstart your MSP marketing function in 2024. So very excited for this one. It's really the first time that we're running a marketing specific webinar. So I'm just going to jump straight into it because I'm too excited to get into everything. So, but before I do, a bit of housekeeping, we will be taking questions at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions throughout all this, please drop it into the Q&A function of the Zoom webinar screen. Not the chat, but the Q&A function. That's the best place to throw them to make sure we don't miss them. So jumping into it, let's talk about who's here today, other than myself, of course. But most of you guys probably know me or have spoken to me at some point. My name is Nick Clement. I'm the head of marketing of Access 4. So at Access 4, I help lead the marketing team and the marketing function, and we do a lot of what you expect a normal marketing team to do for a business. But the bonus part is that a big part of what we also focusing on is marketing support for our partners. So that's sort of why we like to put some of this content together to really try and provide a bit of added value and a bit of insight about how you can really build up your marketing team and your go-to-market efforts. So it's not just all me today. I had to bring the talent as well, which is Lara from TechTent. So I'll throw over to Lara to introduce herself.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Yes, so my name's Lara. I'm from a B2B technology marketing called TechTent. We specialize in MSP distribution and vendor space. So we work with a whole lot of MSPs across the country to help with their marketing systems, their marketing scale, their marketing return on investment, and just tactical execution as well. So hopefully you can give some guidance and some advice today on how to get started.
Perfect. That's exactly what we want to do. So to begin with, so why are we here today? And I'd say it's really to talk about the marketing dilemma that many MSPs and IT resellers are facing, and what we think that you can do now to start overcoming it. So, starting on your marketing journey, it's not a quick or sudden sort of move. It's a transition, it's a journey. And we want to make sure that you can take the first best step forward and take some practical steps to get started. So I would say really to look at what the sort of typical MSP marketing journey is. And this is the sort of typical story that I'm hearing every single day as I speak with our partners. So, so many MSPs were founded by the technical operators. They came from a technical background. They saw an opportunity in the market. They had customers, clients asking for help, and they built up the MSP on the back of their technical expertise. But when it comes to marketing and sales, it's quite an unfamiliar landscape. And they sort of found themselves at a crossroads. So, for many of these technical operators, they've run into a problem that I hear all the time. I've invested in agencies before. I've tried marketing before, and it didn't work. And that's an all too common sort of situation that I hear about on, once a week at least. I'm not even kidding when I say this, that people have proactively tried to get into marketing. They've tried the sort of plays and the techniques that, they might have read about on LinkedIn or an agency has sold to them, and it just hasn't been successful. Yeah. So what that sort of means then is that they're sort of at a point of their growth where they know they need to invest in more marketing and more sales. They've gotten the most out of a word of mouth focused business as they're sort of building up. But they know to be able to overcome what their monthly revenue numbers currently are, they need to invest in marketing. It's a necessity to do so. But the problem remains is that after so many failed attempts, they feel reluctant to invest further. So how do you get started with marketing? And this is really what we're looking to cover today. So we want to introduce some practical steps on what you can do to implement now to reach marketing success. So today we're going to cover how to leverage your white space for cross-selling success, leveraging your existing customers, your loyal and happy customers consistently, and then also run through some of the common marketing pitfalls that we think that you should be avoiding. So starting off, leveraging your white space for cross-selling success. So look, if you've been an Access 4 partner for a while, you probably speak with your account manager quite a lot, and I know they're constantly speaking with you about white space, white space, white space. So there is a reason for this, and it's really because white space is one of the most untapped gold mines for MSPs. It lies within their existing customer base, and it can realistically be the most lucrative and easy place to start. So really when we talk about white space, I think a lot of people understand the concept, right? But it's really about starting to identify where in your existing customer base do you have the smallest amount of penetration with an existing service that you might be offering. And once you've identified that, which is the step we're going through now, then thinking about how you can specifically target that with marketing, sales, follow-up, and so on. So the first step that we always like to encourage, and the first step that we've seen to be very successful with a lot of our partners, is really mapping out your white space. So we have actually developed a handy little worksheet to help you get started on this. I've added a QR code up here. You guys can scan it right now. That'll take you to a very basic Excel template, which enables you to drop in a lot of all your customers' details, names, contact details, industries, and so on, but also then list out all your service offerings. So it's mapped out in a way that when you start mapping out which service offerings you're currently providing your customers and which ones you aren't, it color codes it so you can visually then sort of see, okay, here's all the service offerings where I have a high amount of penetration, and then here's all the ones where I have the largest white space because the color is blank. That's where the term white space came from. And it allows you to see then where's the smallest amount of penetration that you have from all your service offerings, and then where that sort of low-hanging fruit is and where the largest amount of opportunity is. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, one of the next steps from here is that, again, really putting this out onto a graph around white space and being able to see visually where that space is. The next step is action. And it's like, okay, so how do I get time and effort and energy to go out to every single customer to talk about that? And I think often what we find with MSPs is that, it seems overwhelming. There's this feeling of overwhelm. How do I start? Where do I go? And I think it's one of those tricks of like minimum effort, maximum gain. So at that point, what you want to do is really look at what's the easiest way to tell my customers what I'm doing in a really kind of streamlined and scalable way. And that could be something as really simple as just sending them, creating one email and sending it to all of them. And it might feel like lazy marketing,
Yep.
but you're letting people know. Going and doing a quick brochure and not spending too much time on it, but making sure that, from a grouping perspective, you can really reach out to your customers and let them know exactly what you're doing and talk to them in their problems. So
Yep.
in their space as well. Like, obviously going out to, a finance manager of a medical practice and talking to them about, specific different types of technology systems, they're not going to understand it. So why don't you talk to them in their language at scale, across this white space and really start to open that up.
Yep, that's it. And look, there's one of the core reasons for focusing on white space and focusing on your existing customer base is because there's a clear cost benefit, as in, studies have shown that a new customer can cost 5 to 7 times to acquire than it does to cross-sell or retain your existing customers. And that's why it's always something that we really encourage, simply because from a cost-saving perspective, it costs a lot more to acquire a new customer than to keep your original one and to cross-sell them. And if you do that white space mapping and you sort of see and can understand what are the service offerings where you currently have the lowest amount of penetration in your existing base, that's revenue sitting there. And you can typically quantify what that opportunity is if you know and you have all of your customers' data about number of endpoints and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And especially in this space as well, what we find is, your end customers, they want to buy from people that they know, that they like, and that they trust.
Yep.
And if they're already your customer, they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And that's way easier to market to them, to get their mind share and to get a meeting and sales meetings subsequently with that than net new. So that's why this is the low-hanging fruit.
That's it. So look, this first stage is all about identification. So looking at your existing customer base, understanding where the opportunity is, and then we can move on to the next step, which is then setting everything up to actually roll out your first marketing or sales campaign. So one of the first things that you need to do, and it can often be the trickiest one, is actually collating your marketing database, or really getting all of the contact information of your customers and putting them into a central database. Now, like, that might sound like a super obvious thing to do, but it's often the trickiest thing to do, because businesses, especially as they grow organically at different speeds over different times using different systems, they're going to have data spread all over the place in PSAs, in billing systems, and so forth. But without having that data all in one place, you're really going to struggle to get going, simply because you can't target that customer base, but you don't also understand what all those data points mean if they're not all collated in one space. So I know, Lara, you've onboarded many customers who have many troubles with data, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is, one of the most underestimated assets of a business.
Yep.
So, as a business owner myself, and also, relating well with the MSP community, you always have your exit strategy, and your exit strategy sometimes can be, I want to sell this business.
Yep.
When you're selling your business, everything in your business is valued for its assets. And if you've got a marketing database that you can draw X amount of millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue a year just based off sending out emails, offers, campaigns, things like that, you've got a gold mine sitting in your organization, and people pay handsomely for that. When we work with MSPs who have strong marketing databases, we are able to be so much more successful so quickly versus the ones that we have to set up their marketing databases. And this is from a revenue perspective. In that as well, it's not that much effort to actually pull one together. And often with databases and CRMs and stuff, there's already pre-built integrations with your other systems that will automatically migrate those contacts through. Yep. And also from your email as well, like HubSpot, there's a connection to HubSpot that automatically starts to build your marketing database. And that becomes just a huge long-term asset from a marketing, from a sales, from a pipeline perspective.
Yep, that's it. And Lara just kind of touched on it. So the next part, once you've got your database in one place, is to then be able to leverage a marketing automation tool and set up the right tool to then be able to get the most out of that database. So typically what we talk about when we say implementing a marketing automation tool, I think people think, they hear automation and they're worried they're just getting in over their head, or they have to, purchase a Salesforce, which is just going to be completely too enterprise, too complicated. Look, it's these days it's really quite straightforward, and what was previously quite a daunting task can now be done in minutes through really good solutions and software. I know a lot of our partners use MailChimp, for example, and MailChimp is, if you're not already on the marketing automation bandwagon, is a really good place to start. You can set up MailChimp literally within a few minutes. They charge a pretty low monthly fee to get started. And it's an easy to use drag and drop builder that you can really use to get started. And with marketing automation, it's in a nutshell, it's really your tool to be able to send out emails, maybe do SMS, maybe manage your social media at the same time, depending on the tool you use. But it's really the tool that you take your database and then you plug it into your marketing automation, and then you have the ability to segment, line up communications, and use it as a tool to get your messaging out the door.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And also set up, I suppose, following that, and set up long-term nurtures as well. So, marketing automation is great for email sending, but there's also things that follow the buying journey around, like long-term nurtures, understanding when your buyers are actually starting to engage, if they're clicking on a whole bunch of stuff. And that helps just with intelligence, because then you can start to see how many people are actually interacting with my content, who's seeing everything. But the main thing is to start small and work your way up.
Look, that's it. So look, and then once you've got your database in place, you've got your automation set up, the tool that you're going to use to get your messages and communications out, then it's time to start thinking about what your cross-sell offering is going to be. And that comes back to your white space analysis and the mapping you've done. What is the service offering you're going to focus on, depending on where your biggest white space or where your white space opportunities are, and then putting together a curated, a tailored offer that's going to be able to really penetrate your top white space accounts. And that call to action is really very important. You don't want a call to action where it's just, click through to read this blog or click to read through a white paper. You want something that really incites an action. So when we're talking about your customer base, right, they're already your customers, you're already servicing them. It's good to send them ongoing education and added value insights about what they might be facing. But if you're really looking to run a cross-sell campaign, that call to action needs to get them to do something. And a good example I can provide is something that we run commonly with our partners around running a telephony health check. And that's where the call to action is to provide a recent copy of your customer's phone bill. And then with that phone bill, you can then run a telephony health check. So the phone bill is a step they have to take. They have to find it. They have to give it to you. Then in return, they feel like they're getting some sort of value in the return of a telephony health check, where they get some insight from you around what the current makeup of their system is and where the potential gaps are. And from the customer's perspective, they're getting value. They're getting something free that they didn't have yesterday. But from your perspective, you're able to go back to them and have a much more consultative selling conversation, and it's creating pipeline. So that's really the kind of CTO that we talk about. And anything else that you see really works from a call to action perspective with MSPs in particular?
It's exactly like what you've said, Nick. It's about delivering something to your customer that is compelling enough from a conversion perspective that they walk away better off from doing it, and it's less it's not as much work for them to do. So a telephony health check, the output for them is a reduced telephony cost. Simple, easy to understand. I'll invest my time there, and I'm going to get my costs on the way back. The cool ones that you can do as well, you can be super creative and fun with these things, especially depending on if you're an MSP that's got really solid relationships and you're a relationship seller and you've got a good local coverage or a community, you can do really fun things that actually demonstrate you as a business. So you can do gift giving campaigns, you can invite people to certain things that will just create that interaction, and also that ability for them to know you a little bit more, to like you a little bit more, to trust you a little bit more, and to have those conversations. So it can be based on your product and what you're actually selling, or your service that you're selling, but it could also be just based on you and your business. So, I think sticking to the kind of the rules of deliver them something of value that's not going to take them that much effort, and then also do it in a way that really represents you as a business. Is it fun? Is it, adventurous? Is it really professional? Is it reassuring? Like all those sorts of things. So, yeah.
That's it. Cool. So we've sort of gone on a journey, right? And we're ready to execute what this cross-sell campaign is. And if you think about it, right? So we're now kicking off. So you've done your white spacing. You know where the opportunity is. You've collated your contacts into a database. You put them into a marketing automation tool. You've got your cross-sell offer ready. And now it's time to push it all out, right? So we went through these steps quite logically. You've throughout that whole process, you've as I said, you've discovered the opportunity. You know exactly what you're going to sell. You know exactly where the opportunity is. You know what the cross-sell is. So it doesn't have to be so complicated, right? It's not rocket science. And now it's time to hit send. So there's a few things to keep in mind around making sure you get the most out of your campaign. Segmentation is very important. Especially if you're running quite an integrated cross-sell campaign where you might be hitting multiple different service offerings at once. But you want to really try and be as personalized as possible to make sure that you're providing relevant content at the relevant time that that your customer is going to be interested in. And that's part of where that white spacing opportunity comes through. And the cadence is also important. When I say cadence, I mean the frequency and the amount of times you're actually sending out communications. Because typically, customers are going to require maybe 6 to 8 digital touch points before they start taking an action, right? So the importance of nurturing your customer base, sending out regular communications with a consistent call to action is really the consistency that that you need to get the most out of your customer base. And personalization is key in that, address your customers by name, call out specific things that are unique to their account. Marketing automation can really help with this. But again, really ensure the call to action is relevant and is personalized to what that they have a need for, or that they're facing a problem within their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just following that one up, even with the segmentation, like the segmentation can be as broad as technical and non-technical.
Yep.
Or finance oriented, or technical oriented. And again, coming back to that,
Yes.
it's if you've got a segmented list of customers that are finance oriented, maybe send them a cost optimization call to action, as in you'll go through and do an audit of their technology set, and that will then yield them X amount of percentage of cost savings. That ticks their wanting to save money or consolidate costs, and that's really, really targeted as well.
Yep, that's it. And look, following up is super important. So we always say that email outreach, that's important, but proactive phone calls, especially if you're running a very tight call to action, is where you're really going to see a lot of accelerated conversations, especially with your existing customers where you already have the relationship, you're already the trusted advisor. Sending out communications, getting them to consume the content, get across what you're talking about. It's the follow-up call that's really going to help to start moving things forward.
Yeah.
And it's where a lot of that initial interest is going to be compounded.
Yeah, and we see that as well in MSP customer retention as well. So we do a lot of analysis, like why do MSPs lose customers? Why do they struggle to convert break-fix customers to managed service customers? What is the customer perception? And one of the issues is customers often have this perceived indifference, as in they haven't heard from their MSP or their IT supplier since, the last time an employee started 6 months ago. And then someone else calls who's active, who's following up, and they switch their service entirely over. So even if you're going for an upsell, cross-sell program, just getting on the phone with your customers and just saying, hey, I've got something to offer you, or, I just wanted to give you this offer. Oh, if it doesn't suit you, but how about we catch up for a coffee next week? At that point, your customer's getting a call and your retention rates go, they perform really, really well as well, just by the simple act of giving a call.
That's it. And just a quick shout out as well. So if you're also in the midst of this yourself right now and you need content to help you get started, Access4 can help out with what we have in our campaigns in a box. So this is really delivering a body of content to our partners, which they can essentially plug into these campaigns that we're talking about right now. So if you haven't seen them before, speak to your Access4 account manager or check out the URL here. It's what we've really tried to do here is to cover a wide range of different topics and themes, which we know your customers are facing. We get across into voice continuity, into hybrid working, advanced call analytics, our enhanced MS Teams offering. Depending on what you're looking to communicate, educate, and cross-sell, we probably have a campaign there. So definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, easy, quick wins, huh?
That's it. That's it. Cool. So we're on to the next one. So you've kicked off your white space and your cross-selling campaigns, and now you're starting to think about, how do I start acquiring more customers? So we think that the way to get started here is, once again, start with your existing customer base. So, fast forward, maybe a year or so, you're now a marketing expert. You've smashed through your white space. You've got really strong penetration, and now you need to start investing more into new customer acquisition. We still recommend that you start with your existing customer base and you harness the power of satisfied customers to really start fueling growth and more referrals. And we think that this is why crafting a referral and advocacy program is so important. Cultivating strong relationships with loyal clients, it not only makes them happy, but it opens the doors to more referrals. And we see that a lot of successful MSPs can really start growing more and compounding on word of mouth, compounding on their marketing by just putting in a strong referral program. So, begin by identifying your advocates, your happiest customers, express your gratitude to them, and then start thinking about putting together a program with simple guidelines and incentives for successful referrals. So, we've seen partners do this successfully with financial incentives. If your existing customer refers you to someone new and they come on board, you might give that existing customer 1 month free or whatever it might be. We've seen success there. Or it might just go into a pool of gift cards or something like that. But explicitly creating a simple referral program is something where you can really get a good amount of traction from as well. So an example here that I like to talk about is what we call a Who Do You Know campaign. And this is something that our head of channel, Matt Jamison, is really big advocate of. And it sort of harkens back to the older school sales techniques of having sandwich calls, or 336 prospecting is something some people on the call might be familiar with. Sandwich call is essentially envisioning the customer you're going to visit as the meat, and potential prospects as the bread. So if you think about you're going to like a dental clinic on a main road, you want to go there, you want to visit the dentist clinic, but also consider knocking doors to the prospects either side. And then the 336 principle is where you visit the customer in the middle. You go, then you also knock doors 3 on the left, 3 on the right, and 6 on the other side of the road. So that's the old school sort of prospecting, sort of sales techniques. The modern iteration of that is what we like to call a Who Do You Know campaign. So it's really about leveraging your happiest, your most trusted customers. And it's simply when you're delivering them value, it might be because you're just delivered a project, you just delivered some kind of audit. It's putting to them, you benefit from the service that I provide. We have a long-term relationship. Who else can I have the discussion with that that could also benefit from this? So, it's like, you trust me, I trust you, we're in this together. Do you have any peers? Do you have any colleagues that you can refer over? And who do you know? And when you dig deeper, that's really a good way to start probing for additional contacts, just off a simple question where you might be able to get a lot of warm prospects. And sometimes people might be afraid to ask, but once you start establishing strong customer relationships, it's always keep in mind about how you can get more out of your existing customer base and asking these simple referral questions, because that's where you're really going to get a lot of good growth. Anything else? Any other kinds of referral programs that you've seen, Lara, that you think can be successful?
No, I mean, they're all the same fundamentals. And I think the main thing to take away here is often your customers don't know that you're searching for more business.
Yep, that's it.
So it's the simple act of, applying a couple of principles, or even coming out to them and exactly like saying, who do you know? Or, we're looking to take on some more customers. Is there anyone that you can refer to us? And often your customers, like, if they like you and you're a champion, they want to help. And people always feel really good when they're being helpful. So obviously they want to do that. If there's an incentive on the back end, fantastic. If you don't feel very good about giving them an incentive, like you feel it's too gimmicky, then it's just something where, you take them out for a coffee or a lunch and you say, hey, listen, we're looking to have, bring on a couple more customers. I'm investing in my business, investing in my team. Do you have anyone else that you think I should meet?
Yep.
And that can be really easy. Or if, say, for example, you're quite athletic or sporty, bring one customer out for a customer fun day and ask them to bring 2 of their people. And that then might work or feel more authentic to you in that way as well. So, but yeah, I think the thing is like, you don't ask, you don't get. And your customers really want to help you because you help them. They want to reciprocate. So jump into it.
And also, if you're at a scale where you have a growing sales team as well, you might have account managers looking after a specific number of accounts. This is something to pass down to them as well, and you might be able to incentivize your sales reps to run through the process of running a Who Do You Know campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, and those sorts of things are cool as well, because then you can get, from a marketing spin, you can, your AEs have a reason to pick up the phone and call their customers. Hey, we've got something exciting to talk to you about. How about I schedule a time to come out on Monday and chat you through it?
That's it. Cool. So at the same time as well, we really want you to be focusing on mapping out your ICP, or your ideal customer profile. So the aim here is to replicate the success of your top performing clients and attract more customers with similar characteristics. Look, this is a conversation that I also have quite regularly with a lot of our partners, especially partners who are thinking about investing more and more in customer acquisition. Targeting is incredibly important. So knowing exactly the type of customer that you want to acquire is going to make things more efficient, you're not going to waste money in opening the net too broad in many cases. But as an MSP, if you're growing and you're investing more in finding new customers, you've been growing for a reason. And it's because of the types of customers that you've onboarded and that you've grown with. So by identifying the key characteristics of the types of customers that you want to engage with, is it their size? Is it the type of industry that they're in? Whatever it might be, you can start building up this profile of your ideal customer. And then at that point, you can start thinking about, okay, so I know what kind of customers I want to go after. Where do these similar types of customers hang out? Is it industry events? Is it specific networking opportunities? Is it different associations? But it's also just the fact to be able to very specifically tailor your marketing messages to talk specifically to the problem statements that those types of customers face. Because if you're targeting education, schools versus professional services, what you're going to be talking about and how you're going to be speaking to them about the problem statements they might have and how your solutions tie into that are going to be very different. So a quick win here especially is around aligning and looking at your customer base and understanding what are the major industries that your existing customer base currently falls into. Because these industries are the industries that you know all the pain points to. You've probably been servicing customers in these industries for a very long time, and you know the intricacies of the problems that they're going to face back to front. So these are the ones worth prioritizing, but then it also helps you to target the marketing activities that then you can roll out. As I said before, the specific industry events that align with the customers that you have, or the associations. Because as soon as you're at these events and you're talking to the very specific pain points that, for example, mining businesses might face, they're going to listen and it's going to resonate with them. And it's a much more efficient method than just having a very broad, open approach where you're just trying to catch all. That's why targeting is such an important part.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, like, we work with an MSP here in Melbourne who does really, really well with medical practices. And we're not doing vertical specific campaigns at the moment. We're doing local campaigns, but when we go down that vertical path, we know for a fact that MSP has deep subject matter expertise in a specific medical software, and the name's escaping me right now, but it's this specific medical software that all medical practices use. So in our marketing messaging, in our outreach, in everything that we're going to do to acquire new medical services, we're going to be dropping that particular software name, and we're going to be talking about the challenges that we know that people in medical industries experience with that software, and then tie that to how this MSP can help them overcome that, and then get that entry point, right? Then get that first conversation. Yep. So what happens at that point is the person in that industry and in that vertical reads that or sees that piece of marketing material or sees that cold outreach and goes, hey, this company knows my problem. And they start to believe you and they start to trust in you. And then from there, you've got an opportunity.
That's it. And there's so much payout here, right? Resource utilization, profitability, because you're servicing the similar types of customers. So in terms of the number of staff and the number of experts that you need to be hiring, right? If you can really develop that subject domain expertise, it really helps up on that sort of logistical side. And it just helps to build up growth because of that. You can sustain your success, right? Because you're just being very targeted and very focused. You're just investing where you know you're going to get a return. And it just really kind of emphasizes everything. Referrals and word of mouth grows a lot because people in the same industry hang out with other people in the same industry. And it really helps to double down. So knowing your ideal customer profile, knowing the industries that you really want to be playing in is really crucial to help really starting to kickstart your new customer acquisition programs if you're up to that stage of your growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, going back to the start, like doing a really strong push into your white space, into your existing customers, that's just a refresher in your memory, in your mind, like what you're really good at. So yeah, we recommend go to your existing customers first, figure out and understand what you're really good at. What are they really appreciating you for? That can then help spit out the ICP.
That's it. So look, now we're going to move on to common marketing pitfalls to avoid. And I always love talking about this because, again, I speak with so many partners each and every week about marketing and some of the things that they've run into. And unfortunately, many have run into some common pitfalls. So we've got a few we're going to run into today. The first one is client acquisition obsession. So it's just so typical that MSPs, when they think, okay, I need to grow, I need to go out there, I need to find new logos. But remember what we said. So it costs 5 to 7 more times to acquire a new customer than it does to cross-sell or retain your existing customer. So always start with your existing customer base, understand your white space, understand your penetration rates with all your different services that you're offering. And that's where you should be starting before you start thinking about acquiring new customers.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. And also understand why. Like if you're going on a client acquisition conquest, understand why. Like tie it back to your revenue or your profitability or your growth goals and get a number. Like really start to understand how many clients do I need to acquire, where, at what stage do they need to be at. Often we will start working with MSPs that are just like, we need leads, leads. And they go and throw money at certain things with this, under the ideology that it's going to help them acquire clients, and it doesn't work. And that's because it wasn't deeply embedded in the business strategy to start off with.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's it. And that loops into the next one. So ad overload. So again, this is where, again, all the time I see a lot of MSPs just immediately going to invest into paid media, paid advertisements, search engine marketing, whatever it might be. They just start spending thousands of dollars a month. And then a few months later, they come back and say, I got nothing from that. That's a super common occurrence. I could probably almost guarantee a lot of the people on this webinar today have had that experience.
Yep.
But it always falls short because if you don't have a strategy in place, if you don't understand who you're targeting, the personalization you need to cut through to them, if it doesn't align with the key challenges that your audience is facing, if you don't know who your ideal customer profile is, you're going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars. I know MSPs have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and have gotten nothing from these sort of campaigns just because they just skipped all the sort of initial steps that we've talked about today and they just thought, if I just start dumping money into Google, I'm going to be getting leads, I'm going to be getting business, but it just does not work like that. So I would say that's one of the key pitfalls to try and avoid. Yeah.
And this one, exactly, goes into the next
SEO,
one. Yeah. The two of them, ads and SEO, they're like dark arts. They are hard, like getting harder and harder as well to nail.
Yeah, so look, SEO as well, like I think when we talk about short-sightedness, it's, I've been doing SEO for 3 months and I still haven't gotten any leads from it. SEO is a long-term tactic and strategy. It takes time to build up authority on your websites and domains, to get traction on Google search, and unless you have a whole lot of money to spend in a very short period, if you're going to start thinking about SEO, you need to give it a longer-term time horizon to see that ROI, and you can't just jump into it and, start aiming for any old keywords that you think might get you business. Again, going back to who do you want to target? Who's your ideal customer profile? What are the industries that you're targeting? Again, this all ties back into how you should be optimizing your SEO as well if you don't have that strategic underpinning there first. So the next one is premature abandonment as well. And again, a common thing that sort of happens is just where, an MSP tries marketing for a few months, they don't see results, and then they give up. So it's important to understand that investing in marketing often requires patience. It requires experimentation, especially if you're starting for the first time and you're not sure exactly how your customers might relate to it, how your customers might react to it, what's going to get the most sort of cut through. If you abandon it too soon, it can stunt your progress. I'm sure you've ran into this a lot as well, Lara.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, going back to what you're saying around long-term strategies and short-term strategies, marketing, going back to the buyer's journey and how people buy from you, it's an ecosystem. It's a tiramisu of experiences. They go on your website, they see your ad, they see someone down the road who gives you a referral, and then all of a sudden they decide they want to talk to you. So you kind of putting all of your money into one of these buckets and expecting it to be the golden goose within 2 or 3 days is going to set you up for failure 100% of the time. And I think, looking at it from a long-term strategy with short-term quick wins is the best way to approach it, and to look at like perfect time of year is this time of year, financial year, going, all right, what's our budget for marketing this year, and how are we going to spend that throughout the year consistently, and stay the course and make sure we've got the right strategy, of course. Yep,
and that ties back into that fear of marketing investment, right? So, it's as we said, it takes time. If it doesn't take time, what you're doing is sales, and that's why marketing and sales really needs to come together, so that marketing is driving the right awareness, it's targeting the right customers, the right prospects, so that you have the right cadence with the sales team as well, who can come in and try and close those opportunities. And the last thing I'd say is the data disorganization. So this sort of harpens back to one of the first things that we were saying again around if you don't have strong data management, if you're working across multiple spreadsheets or multiple systems, which we've all had to do at some point, it's going to slow things down. You're going to be more inefficient, and it's going to be a really painful process, especially if you're then trying to track and monitor results afterwards as well. So invest in that, centralizing the database. In most cases, it's an investment of your time more so than anything else. And then that will enable you to take all those subsequent steps that we've sort of spoken about.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, with the data disorganization, this is absolutely critical if you're investing in salespeople as well. Like say you've got a $120,000, $150,000 salesperson plus their targets. Those people are a wealth of knowledge with all of their contacts and all of their people that are marketable. So making sure you've got a good data system, a CRM where all those contacts are coming in, means that you're not at, from a marketing or sales perspective, you're not at, the behest of a salesperson who has all the information in their head.
That's it. All right, so now we're going to talk a bit about effort versus return.
Yeah, cool. So what I wanted to do was just talk through, guys, talk through some of the questions that, the main questions, the main sort of problems that we hear and see from our MSP customers. And one of these is the first one is, how much effort do I have to put in? Realistically, like marketing is, it's a peripheral sort of thing. Like I don't have time to do it. How much effort do I need to put in? And what's my return on investment going to be? And often these two numbers are really kind of blown out. So what we recommend is that if you're investing in marketing, and whether this is in a marketing person, a marketing agency, a marketing program, a telemarketing campaign, or a field, a trade show, make a time commitment for that investment. And this is your time. This is you getting on the phone, doing follow-up calls, you sending emails, all that sort of stuff. Too often we find MSPs will go and throw good money at a marketing investment and go, okay, cool, no dramas. I don't have to do any more work because marketing is going to do it for me. That's wrong. That's not going to be the case. So generally, a general rule that we look at is if per $1,000 you're spending in marketing, a marketing initiative, put aside an hour of your time to make sure you get your bang for buck on that commitment. And this means you or your sales team being deeply involved in it from a follow-up perspective, from going to sales meetings that the marketing, campaign generates, all those sorts of things. So just making sure that, you're not putting money in and just expecting someone else to do all the work. You still have to do, 1 hour per $1,000. Let's just say that. And this is what we've spoken about already. It's, really understanding the buying journey and the buying ecosystem of your ICP or your ideal customer profiles. When those people are purchasing IT services or MSP services, what they're often looking for is a trusted supplier, someone they can call. They're looking for, Joe and the team down the road. So how are you going to really make sure that you're there where they're buying, you're talking to them in their pain points, and you're presenting yourself in a really credible way? The only time that IT services a purchase in a transactional manner is when the systems all go down or when people are having a cybersecurity incident. And you still absolutely want your business primed for that. Like you want, is your system network down, or are you experiencing a cybersecurity incident right now? You want that on your website, because when people are in distress, they will hand over money, and that is a great customer to have. But generally when they're not distressed, they're going on multiple different channels to buy from you, and you need to be across all those channels. And this is just beyond a website.
Yeah, and I think what you said there about IT services is not transactional. Like what I say all the time is that we're not here selling shoes, right? Typically speaking, when someone is going to be investing in you as a customer, it's what an annual contract that's worth probably around $40,000-$50,000, if not double or triple that, depending on the size of that organization. You need to understand that journey and what that sales cycle look like to give it the appropriate time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, and for, a company that's turning over $2 million a year, or, something like that, like, for example, a medical practice, $45,000, $60,000 IT contract is a bit of a big spend to them, and they're going to be looking seriously, and they're going to be looking everywhere for the right type of company for them. And this one is understanding what you actually need at the specific time. So what we often find here, and I mentioned it before, is we'll talk to MSP business owners that are like, we just need leads. We need leads. And then you talk to them and go, well, who will follow up those leads? If we go get those leads, who's going to follow them up? Do you have a team ready to service that? Do you know how many sales meetings you need to have in order to convert X amount of customers? Are you prepped for that? So it's really understanding, like, do you actually need more leads, or do you need to just get more out of your existing customers? Are you in a period right now where actually your team's at like 95% utilization? Everyone's doing well, and you don't really need to grow at the moment. So let's just go and invest in some brand awareness and keep us in market, keep us top of mind. So then, for the next 6 months, when we're ready to ramp, people already know who we are. So really looking at your business like quarter by quarter and going, okay, what do we need right now? Is it brand awareness? Is it leads? Is it just to get more into our customers? Do we need to fill the top of our funnel up? All those sorts of things. So, having a bit of a holistic look at all of that. For success metrics, so this is kind of talking about the return on investment. So say you go and do an existing customer campaign, so similar to what we spoke about at the start, how you're going to measure your success is based on how many sales meetings you got out of it and how many deals you got out of it. That is basically, the most simplest measure of success. So say, you do an email campaign with a really sexy offer and it goes to 100 of your customers and you get 10 meetings out of it and you get maybe 5 deals. That's awesome. Like, that's a really good return on investment. If you do that again and you send it out and you get no meeting, or you get 4 meetings and most of them are just your existing customers wanting a free beer, and you get no deals, probably wasn't so good. Maybe you need to tighten up that offer and make it more compelling, or search through for different opportunities with those existing customers. When we're talking about acquisition of net new customers, and again, this is going back to how net new customers buy and understanding their buying journey, this is where really measuring engagement is cool, because then you can really understand the momentum behind it. And what that basically means is like, and I know people on this call will understand, like when you work with a marketing agency and they go, oh, we had 35 impressions and, 40,000 clicks and all that stuff. And you're like, what does that even mean? Like, what is the context? That means nothing to me. And damn right, it doesn't mean anything to anyone unless you know what it means in relation to engagement. So if you've released a whole bunch of content or ads or offers or whatever, and everyone's clicking, everyone's looking, and it's looking really, really good, that's really good from a return on investment perspective, because you're already in hearts and minds of these people that are thinking. They might not be converting right now, but you're in their mind share. Then from there, obviously, lead acquisition. So how many leads are you actually, marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads, people that are interested in you, like they want to talk to you. So really understanding what that number is and how that resonates with your definition of success. And then also initial introductory meeting. So again, this is dialing back that expectation that, hey, I'm investing in marketing and I'm going to get sales meetings and I expect customers in 2 weeks' time. It just might not happen because people don't buy like that. So it's like, well, how many actual introductory meetings did you get? How many times or opportunities did you get to go and introduce yourself to a prospect new customer? And then from there, what are you doing to close that customer? And what are those numbers? What do all those numbers mean? So that's 2 different metrics for really kind of understanding your return on investment. And then finally, leverage your vendors' MDF budgets.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So go and ask Nick for more money. No, just joking. So basically what this is like, you know, as an MSP, you have a certain amount of money and profitability based on however your year's performance is to invest in marketing. But more often than not, like a lot of you will have great relationships with your any of your vendors that you're reselling or any of your vendors that you're working with, and those guys are really keen to work with you, and there is MDF budgets available. So that helps bolster. So, you know, often you have to put in 50% and they put in 50%, but that means, you know, you get a double dip. Like you can really kind of bolster your marketing efforts that way and invest it wisely.
Yep, that's it. And look, the reason vendors have MDF is because it works, right? This isn't something new or a new fad, and at Access 4 especially, right? It's very ROI driven. If we see there's a marketing or sales play to be that's going to build pipeline and put new customers on, we're going to invest in it. Simple as that. So definitely take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on that as well, like MDF dollars are being handed out to the most savvy MSPs around, the ones that can come to the organisation with a compelling investment case to say, hey, we would like this money here, we're going to generate this many meetings, this amount of pipeline. And so being really savvy in that way will ensure that you get good MDF dollars. But what we are finding is, you know, the days of like, oh, give me $10,000 MDF dollars so I can take my mates out to play golf.
Yeah. Or throw into, you know, Google search ads or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Cool. Look, we've almost gotten to the end of the hour that we had, so we'd like to finish up now with Q&A. So, as mentioned at the start of this call, if you guys have any questions, please start throwing them into the Q&A function of the chat. We've already had one come through, and this one was focused on when is the right time to start investing in paid media. So we sort of said already that, you know, you want to be careful when looking at that. There's a lot of strategic work to be done first, but when's the right time to invest? So maybe Lara, you can have a dig at that first.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly think it's when you've got your marketing channels up and running. So when you've got, you know, your website is SEO optimized, and this isn't saying go and sign up to a 2-year-long SEO contract, but it's get your website optimized. Make sure your website has a whole bunch of converting offers and reasons for people to click through and come through, and that you've got frequent new content coming out. So yeah, I think it takes a little bit of work to get there, but I think, you know, with a solid plan, you can be there within sort of 3 to 6 months. Yeah.
And I think as well, right, like paid media is hard. It's expensive now, you know, like 10 years ago, you know, it used to be a lot more, I'd say the lines to success were a lot more streamlined and a lot more easier than it is now. Now it's a lot of paid media channels are very saturated. Costs are skyrocketing. The cost per click is incredibly high, especially when you're looking at something like managed services. It's incredibly competitive. So again, I think it's back to the basics of know who your customer is, know exactly the type of customer you're going after, industries, any other demographical sort of information that will help you to target them, you know, down to the pinpoint. That's going to help you get the most success. And once you're at that point, you know, you've probably done all your white space and you understand who your customers are, you understand what your value proposition is, all this sort of different stuff. So you should be at a good point to then start investing in ads. But make sure you find the right partner as well. Make sure you've vetted them appropriately. And, you know, they're not just giving you vanity metrics, but they're inside of your CRM and they're telling you exactly how ads convert to pipeline, converts to closed won opportunities and all the rest. So,
and I think, and it's when you've got a really compelling offer and you can test that on your marketing database. Like we're doing a big program at the moment because we've got a great compelling offer. So we're helping a customer expand into the US and we're doing a whole lot of paid media for them and it's going really well. But we have only agreed to do that because we know the offer is, excuse my language, it's shit hot. If you don't have that offer, if you don't have that data-driven capability to understand what's going to work, there's a high chance it'll be a failed investment.
Yep. That's it. So look, we're at the end of our time today. So thanks a lot for everyone joining. So if you want to find out a bit more about how Access 4 can support your marketing, please reach out to us at marketing@access4.com.au. I'm always available as well to have a conversation with our partners about marketing, about your business, any sort of advice we can provide, or deep diving how we can specifically support with any of the activities that you're taking going to market. So thanks a lot for joining again today. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you later.
Thanks. Bye.